If I had words to make a day for you, I'd give you a morning golden and true.
You know, you have a good song. You have a good voice.
That would be news to me.
And now I'm starting to see...
Is that from some, like...
that's from Babe.
Eleanor read this for us, but we're going to dare to read it again. Bones on the floor of the valley, bones that were very dry, and he asked me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I said, Sovereign Lord, you alone know.
Welcome to the
Thanks for having
show.
me.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
You doing well?
Thank you.
Awesome. Are you going to do that voice the whole time?
Just as long as it feels right.
Okay, awesome.
We're here on a Friday night. We're here to take your calls for free life advice.
This is audition for radio.
Guys, I've had a day. I'm pretty loose. It's going to be fun.
Nice. Well, Jared, how should we kick this off? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
John, we always like to... Have you been listening?
Singing audition? Sorry,
Not
continue.
quite.
Do you have a song prepared?
No.
Okay.
That won't prevent me from singing, but I apologize. Continue.
Have you been listening to New Lifecast?
No. I have listened to bits and bobs. I don't think I've finished a full episode.
All right.
Yes.
But do you know what we always start an episode with? Our first question.
I don't.
Okay. So our first question is always, what is your favorite color? What does that say about you as a person?
The most unfortunate part of this is I have a halfway deep answer to this.
Awesome.
And what's super unfortunate is I'm wearing my favorite color right now. It's entirely unconscious. If I have to pick one, and I have 4 children, so I am forced to pick one, it's yellow. And I remember as a kid thinking, yeah, I'm going to say yellow because nobody else will say yellow. And then they'll probably stop asking me questions about it. So now, yellow is the accent color of my wardrobe. If you were to look in my closet, everything is blue or blue.
Okay.
Or accents of blue, and there's splashes of yellow. There's some other colors. There's accent colors. So I would say blue is probably my favorite color, but I'm unwilling to acknowledge it because
It's too big.
everybody loves blue. I need to be different.
I think I've heard like some statistic once that yellow is like the least likely to be someone's favorite
It
color.
like hurts to look at a little bit.
Yeah.
Which apparently is something I'm going for today. I don't know.
But it is really funny how many people come in and we ask them that question and they are wearing their favorite color.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
Because they're going to be on camera, so they
Yeah.
want to look their best.
Yep.
So they're like, this is the best color.
It's yes. I'm outsmarting myself. I look better than I think I'm willing to be. I don't know.
Perceived.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the next question is, which Ninja Turtle are you?
Shoot, you sent me that ahead of time. I had time to think about this. I'm just going with my gut. Donatello.
Your son told me that.
He thinks I'm a Donatello?
No,
or
he thinks
he's
he
a
is
Donatello?
because you liked Donatello.
Whoa. I don't ever recall a conversation with
I've
Dave
asked
about
him in-
Ninja Turtles.
Well, I think we were at a park or something. He was posing as a Ninja Turtle, and so we asked him which one he was, and he said Donatello.
The
I said
irony
it's because
is
of you.
he has a sword, and it's Leonardo's sword.
Oh, well.
Yeah, something about Donatello being the one, like, he can fight, but he'd rather work it out. Come on, guys. We're going to... Raph and Leo, settle down. That's not what Dad would want.
The peacemaker.
That would, yeah.
Would that describe you?
The tattletale. Yeah. Yes, very much so. I was the middle child, the
Yeah.
chronic middle child. So, yeah.
So, just jumping into like your life story. Is that a big enough topic to just jump into?
About 30 seconds, we'll get it done. Then we'll move to more hard-hitting things.
Yeah.
So,
what is your earliest memory?
my earliest memory is in a house in Iowa City, and I'm sitting on a pinstriped blue and white couch, and it feels enormous. It feels like I am swimming in an ocean of couch.
Mm-hmm.
And If I were to look at that couch today, I'm probably longer than it. I'm sure it doesn't exist today. And so I think I'm about 2, maybe 3. And that's my earliest memory. I sat on a couch one time.
Any idea why you remember that specific couch?
No.
Was it comfy?
Nope. It was probably cheap because my parents were poor. I don't remember anything about it distinctly other than the pinstripes. And it was large. And the feeling of largeness. And I went back to that house a couple years later. My dad, being the deeply nostalgic person that he is, has taken us on a tour of the places that we've lived. And in my mind, that house was a mansion. Let's see here, that would have been Russell Drive in Iowa City. So I think I was 3, maybe I was 4. I don't know. My dad knows these things. That's what I have him for, to remember these things. I thought it was a mansion. It was a split story, and so many memories of just this giant tree in the back and this enormous playset. And I was like, wow, I'm like taller than this house. This is a teeny tiny house. This is, it wasn't small, but it wasn't large. And so, yeah, it's all perspective. Anyway.
That must have been the first time you like came to realize the space you took up in the world. Like realizing you were small, because a lot of kids feel big.
That's
usually.
interesting. Gerald, we're getting too deep. It's getting a little too close to home.
You probably just realized, like, I'm small in the world. And
Yeah.
wonder if that's why that stuck with you.
That's it. We'll say that's it.
Yeah. You can think about it when you leave.
Yep.
So what was it like? Because I think probably most people here at New Life would know that, your mom Liz and your dad Pete got divorced. What was it like living with your parents before they got divorced?
I have exactly one memory of them before they got divorced. So I was 4 when they got divorced, so that house. And I remember Ben and I at the top of the stairs, and they were having a discussion or fighting, or I don't know. I don't really remember. I just remember thinking, oh, we got to intervene. And coming down into the kitchen together, telling them something, stop fighting, or I don't know.
You and who came down?
My older brother, Ben.
Okay, you and your older brother, Ben. Oh, okay.
So, and we're like a year and a half apart, so I was probably like 4, and he's probably 5 or 6 at that point. So that is my only memory of my parents together. So, yeah. Yeah.
Did you guys move out of that house soon after that, do you think?
So we stayed in that house I was born in Iowa City, and stayed in Iowa City till I was 6 or 7. And that house was the last house that they lived in together when they got divorced. At that time, the church that was, before it was New Life, River, I don't know. You can look it up in voiceover and pretend I knew what it was. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, so that church was still in Iowa City at the time. My dad lived in Iowa City. My mom moved us to Coralville a year or 2 later. And I remember going to kindergarten and first grade at Grantwood Elementary in Iowa City. And then when I was at the end of first grade, in the summer just before second grade, we moved to California. And that was because my mom found love again. She got remarried to an ER doctor, and we moved pretty quick. So
did he already live in California, or did he get a job in California?
He got a job. So the plan was he had to move out for a job. He was an ER doctor in Iowa City, and he became an ER doctor in Santa Rosa, California. So we moved out to be with him. They moved in together, and we were there. We all moved in together. And they got married. They had a marriage ceremony at our house a couple weeks later. I don't really remember the timeline, but I remember that. And they went on a honeymoon. His parents watched us kids I would have been 7. I just turned 7 when we moved out there. Some of my most fun memories is the drive from Iowa through Nevada to California. My Uncle Jim helped us drive out. My Uncle Jim he's deceased now, but was an absolute party animal, which as a little boy is like, I want to be like that. I want to be dangerous and wild. So he would do such things like so he's driving the truck, my mom's driving the car, and he taught us how to do man things like pee in a bottle while you're driving, things you need for survival. Or if you're in the middle of a desert and there's miles and miles of traffic cones in preparation for tearing up a side of the road, and no one's there, then you can just knock them all over. So Jim was the coolest guy in the world. He also went off the deep end quite a bit in life. So he moved us out. We were there, and then that marriage between my mom and my first stepdad lasted a year, and they got divorced end of my 3rd grade year. I would have been about 8, and then we just stuck around. It was like, well,
we're here,
and we just stuck to that for about 12 more years. So after that, my whole childhood was in California. And we moved around a bunch of places, but Santa Rosa is in the middle of Sonoma County, and we went north and south and all around. We moved a lot, but it's kind of within a hour radius of that city.
So what was it like growing up with your brothers? Like, what memories do you have of them?
Oh, too many. So many renew sessions full of images of my brothers. No. So I'm middle child. Ben is a year and a half older. Zach is 3 years younger. So one thing was that we're boys. I mean, all kids fight. Even the little sinners that live in my house, believe it or not, they fight with each other. Yeah. You are both about to have more than one child in your home. Believe it or not, they're going to love each other, and they're going to sin against each other constantly. So anyway, so lots of conflict, but also some fun times. And I'm always in the middle. So Ben and Zach, it would always be a revolving door of who's having conflict with who. And I'm playing Donatello. Guys, Mom didn't like this, guys. Chill out. So sometimes it would be like, who gets to sit in the front seat? Well, Ben and Zach might make more of an issue of sitting in the front seat, so John could sit in the back more often than not. Or sometimes we would, single mom, we would have a 2 or 3 bedroom house or apartment usually, and often I'm the one sharing the room with one or the other of them. Ben will get on and he'll be like, "Oh, John, you have no idea what it was like."
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it was boys, so very physical. I just remember a lot of wrestling, a lot of, water fights that would get over the top in the best way possible very quickly. A lot of memories of, we lived in Sonoma for quite a few years, 4 or 5 years, and that was a place where, that was the longest I ever lived in one house, was 4 years growing up. And so we would explore a lot in that area. So some good memories of just exploring the town with my brothers. What else?
Did you guys play sports as kids, or?
Sometimes.
And
when forced.
Yeah. If your mom was a single mom, I bet she was working. Was it while you guys were at school, or who was with you guys at home?
Yeah. So we were definitely latchkey kids. Every year was a little bit different, but typically it would be mom drops us off at the earliest school will allow us to be there, 6 or 7 a.m., whatever it is. We would be there at school all day, and then we would do after-school programs of some kind. We would occasionally do sports. Ben was by far the most athletic of us. I remember he would do sports. My mom would throw me in with it. Ben has some natural athletic ability. I do not. So we did basketball, and the coach in training was making us do these squats where you're kind of squatting on the ground and you're shuffling sideways, and he's like, all right, and this is gonna work your blah blah blah, and I just quit in the middle of it. I'm like, this should not make my legs hurt. It's bad that my I forgot to say, I was obese most of my childhood and very against being made to do hard things. So anytime it came to physical activity, I was like, I think not. This is just bad. I just think this is an evil in the world. I remember I did YMCA soccer league one year, and I was a very large child. I was twice the size of anybody else on that field in all dimensions. And I just didn't run as a person. I was against running. And so the ball would go one way, and I'm just walking.
Oh my God!
And the ball would go the other. Yeah, it was like a quiet protest. Like, I'm here, I'm moving. Don't throw the ball my way. Everybody just kind of knew.
And how old were you at this?
I was probably like 9.
Oh God!
I was like, I knew way better.
Yeah.
And my mom, being a single mom, like she's looking for outlets. Like, yeah, we're gonna pump him up. We're gonna get him to do things, but she's not making me try hard.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you remember what position you played?
No.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm in the middle regardless because if I get walked in one end, I gotta walk around, turn around. Yeah. Yeah. But as we got older, middle school and whatever, we would just get ourselves to school, get ourselves home from school. I remember because my mom growing up was a workaholic for quite a while, and had a lot of highs and lows in her career. So at one point, would have been about middle school, she would have been commuting 1 hour each way, working a 10-hour day, coming back. She's coming back, cooking dinner, which we're then eating in front of the TV. And then she's working on her laptop. And she had a high profile, high stress, and for the first time as a single mom, high paying job. But it meant we were very much left to our own devices. So, yeah. So I knew in middle school the TV schedule of exactly when Dragon Ball Z was playing. It would be playing at 3:15 or whatever when I got off the bus. Nah, it doesn't make sense. Probably playing at 3:30 or something. So I know I got to be home for Dragon Ball Z. And if I stay up late enough, they'll play it again. I had a TV in my room, so I was definitely staying up late enough.
Like the same episode every day?
The same episode.
Okay. So you can just watch it twice.
Right.
Catch all the hidden details.
I forgot. You guys are younger. So before streaming, you couldn't decide what to watch when. And you would just watch the same things over, and you would think, this is good. I think I'm lucky because I get to see the same thing again and again.
Yeah, things have changed.
Things have changed. Yeah.
And did you guys visit Iowa too since your dad was here?
Yeah. So I don't know the legal agreement, but effectively my mom had primary custody. But they would share holidays, breaks, vacations, things like that. And then we would stay for extended periods of time in the summer, a month or two at a time. So, so I was back and forth all the time. My childhood was, I'm in California, I'm really independent, not always in the best way, not a lot of people checking in on my life. And then I come to Iowa, and my dad, for a while, it's him living with a bunch of other single guys in the church. So your father-in-law, Ed Loftinsky, one of them. Corey Schneller. Oh my gosh, Corey's a riot. Yeah. I remember Ed and Corey, like, I just thought it was the coolest thing. Oh my gosh, Dad, you get to live with your friends. It's just guys. Corey owns all the Veggie Tales. I was like, that's the high water mark for being a man. You can get any VeggieTales anytime you want, and you can rewatch them, and you feel lucky to rewatch them. Yeah. So anyway, but bunch of guys, but they're all. It was a very orderly home, well structured, very kind men. And then when did my dad get remarried? It would have been about 2000, or it would have been December 1999.
Even though the world was going to end?
Yeah, absolutely.
Rebels.
In the words of the poet John Mark McMillan, I found love at the end of the world. And we filled up 2 liters of bottles with water just in case.
I would have saved you.
Yeah. Which your sisters told me many stories of, all the prepping you guys did.
Yeah, I mean, Josh and I were born in 1999. So
there you go.
We don't exactly remember all the Y2K stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
we have heard. I mean, we probably still ate some of the food, though.
Yeah.
I heard the tuna was around for a while.
So tuna and mayonnaise was a thing. Jessica was not okay with tuna. They had to reconnect later in life.
I still love tuna and mayonnaise, so it must have been like just
older.
enough as a child that it gave me a love for
You were
it.
probably like 6 months old, and they would just rip open a mayo packet. You just you didn't know any different. You're like, this is normal. And not a choking hazard.
Yeah.
It's the early 2000s. It's basically the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I don't remember where we're at.
I don't
but I'm
remember what you
having
were saying
fun.
either.
What did you appreciate about your mom when you were a kid?
So I was saying a few of these attributes about my uncle, Jim, but it's very true of a lot of people in our family. They're just very fun, larger than life. My mom, at one point, her job was to throw parties for celebrities for a champagne company.
Yeah.
You need a very certain personality with a very particular skill set. She was always a very eloquent communicator, and food was and is a huge part of our family culture. So we would go from, mom's working nonstop, we're eating whatever she can put together, right? At night, she comes in, rolls in, makes dinner. And then around holidays, she would go all out. Like she'd be cooking all day, and we'd have a very slow, deliberate experience. We would be, ready to get food, get out. And yet it was a time of deep connection. It was a time of, at that point, she was not a professing Christian, but I think it would have been the most spiritual experience from our home. And I think that's just always stuck with me. I think she's been a very naturally curious person. Jara, you and her get along. You always have schemes. You know? This is the plans. Thing. Always excited about the next thing. Yeah. So just I feel like she did a really great job of sharing some of the best things in the world with us, which now, as a believer, is a huge part of our family culture. Like, we love thinking about what are the best things of this world.
Yeah.
Not that we hold on to them, but they expand our moral imagination to imagine, and Christ is even better. Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, your mom is definitely all about showing people the best things in life. And she's doing it in a small way with her grandkids.
Oh, yeah.
When I heard Nora say, I'm going to eat escargot in Paris. And just the refined palates and all the things she's going to do and all the schemes and the fun.
Right.
For little people.
Oh, it's just the best. And she... I'll say now, as a believer, she's now a believer. We're fast forwarding, and she's just all about hospitality. She loves inviting people into her home. She loves serving, and she just loves serving my family. Like, she cannot stop taking Abe and watching him. Thank you, Mom.
And trying to make everyday experience. Like, she's doing something.
Right.
It's going to not just be we're sitting around. It's going to be we're going to the car wash and you can sit in the front seat. And we're going to go do all these things. We're going to write a song. We're writing a book.
And the most and And her mom, my Nana, was very much that way. And we talk about that. Like, that really comes from her. She was a performer, which we can think about. Any of us at our worst were performing without heart in it, right? I feel very aware of, I'm probably performing consciously and subconsciously being filmed right now, right?
As we all are. It's all fake.
This is all quantum mechanics. I'm different because I'm being watched. I'm trying very hard not to look at that little screen and how bright this shirt is. But I think, again, in Christ, there's a best version of that. That is, wow, it is David. I will become even more undignified than this. I will make much of the good things that then point to Christ. I will make much of Christ himself. So, yes, what were we talking about? My mom, yeah. What was my mom like? Yeah.
This is probably the best time out of any to ask this question, but what is your favorite food? Is that even a question that has an answer?
It doesn't. I'm going to make up an answer. I'm in pain. Which is my favorite child? So if it's favorite in terms of the thing I like the most but wouldn't eat every day, is that what we're getting at?
Sure.
I'm getting too much into Smith. You're like, just answer the question. It doesn't matter what you say.
I know it's a loaded question to ask.
Your mom is going to listen to this.
That's why it's like I have 10 favorite foods. I would say my favorite thing, this is how I know what my favorite food is. If I have an alone day, which I try to, as I'm an introvert, I'm just a very loud introvert. If I have an alone day, which I try to schedule every few months, what I will do is I will schedule where I go based around the best bakery I can get to in a day. Currently, my favorite bakery is Bread Market Garden in Iowa City, downtown Iowa City, right by the library. And their baguettes are my favorite baguette in the Midwest. And they have other breads, but like a really good, crunchy, hearty baguette or a sourdough.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Jesus is the bread of life. There's a reason he said that. Okay? He wasn't the tortilla of life.
No.
Okay? Like,
Wasn't
he
the
was the
broccoli
bread
of
of life.
life.
He was not. Yeah.
That must be the German in you. I heard Germans care about bread a lot.
Yeah. They even turn it, they even liquefy it and add hops to it. And it's beer. And they care even more about that.
Yeah. They care about beer and bread. I did not know that was a huge part of German culture, is eating bread and having fancy bread ways.
All cultures.
Well, you're German now. You're a Jurgen smile.
Yes.
Yeah, you know these
now
things.
I care about bread.
Yeah.
I mean, I think bread's important to all cultures.
Not as important to the Germans, more important.
So
to
go
the
to wars
Germans.
over it. I mean, they're crazy about it. They took over France just for baguettes. It's crazy. It is crazy, guys.
Get real history here on New Lifecast.
That's why they wanted to go to England. Brown bread. Give us brown bread. You may not be able to
bread
use
and
any
beer.
of
The
this.
Germans will be happy.
I will. So we went to Germany with my dad. It's almost 2 years ago now. And I was really feeling my roots. It was like, wow, this is wild. I had ancestors, and we went in the vicinity of your hometown. It was a little farther. We weren't right at it, but not your hometown. You weren't born in Germany. Your ancestry.
Munster or that area. Or...
Yeah, I don't remember. But it was gorgeous. I didn't expect to love it so much. I love Germany. But every gas station we went to had basically a gourmet deli in it. And they had to go these sandwiches, and every sandwich was a variation on some type of gourmet multi-grain bread. You can't identify what the grains are because they're too wholesome and we're not used to them. It's probably pumpernickel and rye, and I don't know, but it's still light and wonderful. Some kind of pig meat. You can't quite identify. It's not ham, it's not bologna, it's not salami. Something delicious, and pickles of some kind. And maybe there's a veggie, probably there's a little bit of cheese in there. But like, 100 different versions of that. And that was everywhere we went. I don't know what they were called, but they were delicious.
So coming back to the baguette, though.
Thank you.
What do you put on your baguette? Do you put anything, or is it just, this is such a fresh, lovely baguette that it doesn't?
It depends. It depends what I'm doing. So if I'm on my own, I will probably, okay, here's what I did my last alone day, is I got just a baguette, and I'm just breaking it off in hunks, and I got a block of Sartori cheese. It's kind of a mix between like a white cheddar and a hard Parmesan. It's so dang good. It's got like these crystallized protein. It's like sugar crystals.
Your voice is getting all low.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just thinking about the cheese. I must be hungry. Well, yeah. So I'm just breaking off chunks and eating with them. If I'm hosting somebody and I'm making a meal for other people, I'll get all pretentious. I'll put it in slices, olive oils. I'll turn it into crostinis in the oven. I'll probably go to Aldi and get a bunch of, they got the white cheddar there. They got the Gouda. They got, oh man, I'm a blue cheese fiend. I could blue cheese all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's consequences when I blue cheese all day, but every once in a while you gotta let loose. So
Yeah.
One thing I appreciate about your family, or you and at least Ben, I know Ben, you guys have very high quality food palates. Like you can eat fancy foods and you know them and you enjoy them, but then you can eat
garbage.
Yes, absolutely. Garbage. And be like, oh, this is good.
The raccoon didn't finish that hot dog. I think the Lord wouldn't want that to go to waste.
Yeah, like eat that and also enjoy that too, and say this is good and be happy. And I think that's contentment.
Yeah, that's the secret. I've found the secret of contentment, whether by little or much. There you go. Well, thank you, Jara.
You're very welcome.
That's such
and
a
that's
compliment.
something Josh talks about too, is that you guys are able to do
bougie trash pans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember I came to your house once and you were making, I don't know, salad something, and you just put tuna and like all these things on it. And Jess was like, he keeps making this. I don't know, he eats it, and it's so gross.
I did. So I was here at the church today. I work remotely, so I'm working here. And then for my lunch break, I teach the literature class at the co-op. And I pack basically the same lunch every time I do it. Because I don't have time, but I want to eat something kind of healthy. And so it's a whole bag of frozen green beans and a can of tuna.
Yeah.
How do you consume that?
Okay. So a little bit of technique. Cooking's all technique. So the green I can't even do it. The green beans you just microwave for 5 minutes. Okay. You drain out some water. You put them on a plate. You open up the tuna, drain the water, and you just dump it on top and eat it with a fork.
Okay.
So yeah, in the most barbaric way, it makes my wife ill to think about it. But I'm just going for efficiency here.
I'm thinking I'd rather not eat, but
I know, it really disturbs her. I literally eat too many vegetables sometimes. Pretty much every time. I'm like too fixated on vegetables. And my wife was like, this is a problem. I'm like, I know. And she catches me sneaking vegetables at 2 a.m. I'm just in the corner of our room.
Well, Georgia used to sneak apples. You remember
she
that?
Did. She's crazy about it. We'll find rotten apple cores around the house.
Like hiding in your closet, eating an apple. So bizarre.
You think Adam and Eve were tempted by fruit? It doesn't take much. Sin comes alive when it hears the law. I'll tell you that. So, don't eat these carrots. What? I want the carrots. You guys could use that as a strategy for your toddlers. Yeah. They'll see through it. Toddlers are so smart. That won't work.
Reverse psychology.
Yeah, you can try and report back. I feel like your kids are I think they're decent eaters.
Yeah.
I have attended meals with them. I have not paid attention to
Artie
them
eats pretty much anything. If they're he will definitely prioritize foods. Like if there's meat or sugar, and there's also vegetables, the vegetables will probably get thrown on the ground.
Yep.
But if there's just vegetables,
you just hand him cucumber as a snack. Like, thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Wynn loves cucumbers.
Cucumber in a cupcake. What the garbage present is this? Yeah.
Yeah, Gwen eats pretty well. She comes to your house on Thursdays.
Yeah.
She eats lunch there and eats hers and probably some of Abe's.
Yeah.
Then we get home and she eats again. She eats 2 lunches on Thursdays, and then she goes to sleep.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, this week she ate exactly as long as Abe was at the table.
Yeah. If
and
he left,
ate
then
exactly as long as until whatever show was on in the next room. And he's like, "Oh, I'm not hungry anymore." Suddenly,
yes, and then she'll follow him and not be. So maybe that's why she eats her second
yeah.
lunch.
I don't know. They're both crazy. I can't get Abe to sit down. He'll eat one thing at a time. Mm-hmm. Like we'll put 1 or 2 things on his plate in a meal, and we're just like, he's gonna be here 5 minutes. And then he's going to run away. And then he's going to come back and be like, "I'm hungry." And we're like, "We know. Here's another thing on your plate now." Yeah. We've given up with our 4th kid, if you can't tell.
But he doesn't look like he's starving, so.
He
seems fine.
Boy.
Yeah.
Following his daddy's footsteps. Yeah.
Don't put him in soccer.
No. We'll put him in NASCAR. It'll be good. Yeah.
So, how was I want to go back to California. How was your overall time there? Because I know you guys, your mom was a workaholic, had cool jobs.
Yeah.
You guys had no money and then a ton of money and then maybe no money again. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And you guys moved around quite a bit. But then eventually you came to Iowa. So how was the rest of your time in California?
I, on the whole, did not enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So we moved a lot, almost every year of my life. There's always another thing. My mom's in a different relationship. A lot of it's jobs. Sometimes we need to change housing. Schools are different, whatever. And so for most of my childhood, I was pretty reserved inside my shell. I would go whole days. I did not talk to people. Like, literally, I'm not having a conversation with anybody. Maybe there's a little transactional, like, "What do you need? That, thank you." Like that, but that was it. So most of my childhood, I was extremely reserved, very quiet. I think between the divorce and the move and then some other just negative experiences, I was pretty shut down most of the time. I really struggled to make friends, which, when I was an obese kid, I thought, "Oh, it's because I'm fat." Mm-hmm. Which is just, I heard somebody say this, you never need to tell an overweight person that they're overweight, even when they're young. It's not like, "What? I'm different? I thought I was exactly the same as everybody else." All of us are keenly aware of all the ways that we're different. It's not just weight or whatever. It's like everybody knows the ways in which they stand out because all of us have insecurities. And that's why we need our identity in Christ. So very insecure, very reserved, extremely few friends, moving about every year. And it got pretty bad. So I remember being 8 years old and at that point had suicide attempts. And, you always wonder, like as I'm looking back, did I really want to take my life? Was it a show for her help? I don't know. But I was doing things like holding a knife to my chest or dangling from a balcony thinking, should I let go?
At 8?
Yeah, it was bad.
So during that time, what was your concept of God? Did you believe in God?
So at home, we had understandings of spirituality. I remember, so my mom told us at a very young age, her history with the church. We'll call it New Life, but it was called something else. But the institution, which was formerly something else, was some of the same people from New Life. And as a family, we'd talk about spiritual things, but always had negative connotations of the Bible, of Christianity, of my dad. I was very young when, I heard the story of my parents' divorce and their relationship and how, there were struggles with the church and church leadership. And, it was all very complicated and involved. and I didn't really have the tools to unpack any of that stuff. And my mom is just this hurting woman on the run, basically, you know, like she's like trying to reinvent herself, get far away from her past. And so my perception of God was, if he's really far off, he's not imminently present in any kind of way. And it was something that was a part of my dad's life, because we would come back and go to church. We would read the Bible. We'd have some family devotionals. And I liked church. Church gave order and structure. There was no swearing in church. I really liked that. I like it now, too, as a believer. I think it's a good thing. You know, the Bible even commands it. Don't use crude language. So that's a good thing. So if you're thinking seeker-friendly, let's use bad words. No, don't do that. So I liked some of the structures of religion, because I think I felt kind of insecure, lost, but there was no personal God, certainly no positive opinion of a personal God. But we would have more conversations about Eastern religions and
Reikis and chakras and that kind of thing.
We went to a Buddhist meeting a few times. And
I'm not going to say I'm surprised
right.
that Liz would look into that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So at a young age, I don't have a sense of God, and I don't have a lot of parental input. And my parents are a combination of 2,000 miles away and overwhelmed, and my mom's probably really living some of her traumas. You know, she's trying to parent me, and so saw therapists for years and years and years.
I'm sorry. Did you tell your mom this, like that you had suicidal ideation? Because I do know that is a thing kids in our generation now.
Yeah, right.
A lot of them struggle with, and
all
maybe even in the church,
up.
Just to like.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody listens to this, like, what did you do, or what would you?
My mom.
Say to that?
My mom. Where to start telling that part of the story? So, in those moments, my mom, like, walked. As I'm describing the knife, she walked into the room, and I'm just staring at my chest, trying to decide, in a cold, detached way, do I want to keep living or not? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I'm like on the edge and not feeling a lot about it. Which as an adult, it's like, oh my gosh, it's hard to relive that memory only from the perspective of like, I don't know what that feels like anymore, you know? Or to feel it first person. Anyway. So like there were alarm bells for sure where she saw behaviors. And so she's trying to react and respond like, okay, something must be wrong, and we're going to have a big response. And, some of her skills are, let's make things known, right? And so she is using all the skills she has to protect me, to help me, which include, hey, let's have meetings with school administrators and teachers. Let's get on the same page. Let's be talking to doctors and psychiatrists. And so she's doing what she has with tools she has to assemble the A team, right? And so I'm not sure I'm ever completely open with these people, but in my mind, like, man, I'm telling them what they want to hear. And again, now as an adult, I'm like, yeah, I was pretty simple. Good old simple John with his dark brooding thoughts. I should not be making jokes about that. Anyway. So I think she had an awareness, but she didn't know what to do, really. And so my happiest memory of my whole childhood in California was when I was 8, I ran away from school in the middle of class. So I was feeling like I just had the hardest time in school. For a long time, I thought I had a learning disability. I just was never a good student. for many reasons. After a while, it was laziness. But they thought, like, well, Jon can't learn. He's not doing well. And you know, in retrospect, it's like, well, emotionally, I'm just either torn up or not there inside at school. And I have no friends and shut down. So I remember in third grade, we started learning multiplication and division at the end of the year. And my teacher called on me to do a problem. And I'm standing there, and I'm just deer in the headlights. And I don't know how to solve it. I don't even understand. What are we doing here?
Yeah. I thought this was English.
Right. And so I just got really embarrassed, overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do, and I just felt like I need to run away. And so I ran out of the classroom while everybody's watching me run out the fire exits. I don't know if an alarm went off. I don't know. And I get off school campus, and I'm just like, it's awful.
Oh,
this is great. I love this whole not being at school thing. So I'm just wandering, and eventually I just happened to end up in my old neighborhood. So that was my second home, second school in California. Somehow I'd wandered to a couple miles away was my old house, my old neighborhood. And I had an old neighbor that I liked, and he was just hanging out there. And he's like, hey, buddy, what are you doing in the middle of the day in a place you don't live anymore? And I don't remember what I told him, but I just remember, like, he's being so nice. He's like, come on in. And so he's showing me his collection of old vintage comic books and giving me snacks. And I'm like, I knew running away was the right thing. And then suddenly my mother and a police officer show up at the door. So, like, he snitched on me. Yeah. So clear, you know, that was a big deal. We went down to the police station because they had the police were looking for me, actively patrolling the street. I don't know how they didn't find me. It's not like I was running. Guys, I was big. I was overweight. I had a policy against running places. I only knew 3 streets in the city. Anyway, it's California. Yeah. Chronically underfunded, you know.
They probably had other bigger problems.
Right. Let's not defund the police here, guys. Okay, this is a clear example of why not to. Anyway, but we went down to the station to, you know, show, okay, Jon's fine. And then my mom, again, being a single mom, is asking the detective to talk to me. Like, hey, don't do this. Do not run away again. That was super dangerous. In the middle of him talking to me, I just think, I don't want to be here right now.
Oh no, did you run away again?
So we're standing outside the police station. Again, I'm very large and I'm very slow. It would not take much, but I'm running as fast as I can while he's talking to me, while we're making eye contact 3 feet away. I'm running. He grabs me and tackles me onto the lawn of the police station. And he's like, what are you doing? What are we doing right now? And in my heart, I'm like, man, all right, I'll just give up. He got me. I was a broken stallion at that point. He'd broken me in. Anyway, so giant crisis. I remember the next day, my mom took off work, and we gardened together. And that was my first memory of gardening. And that was just, that was a beautiful day. We did nothing but work in the garden. We didn't talk about anything. There were no problems that day. It's probably why I like gardening so much now. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Did you continue to garden as a kid, or?
Usually not. Usually we just didn't have space, very small backyard or front yard or whatever. When I was in high school, so we moved a few moves between that story and this. So my freshman year of high school, we moved to Healdsburg, California, where my mom had her job. She was commuting an hour away for a bunch of years. And she's like, we just need to move here. This is too much. And we moved into, this was the coolest house I ever lived in. We lived in a lot of rundown houses, but this house was cool and rundown. So it wasn't rundown, it was just old. It was an old farmhouse, akin to, the type of houses we live in Whitney.
I was going to say, like my house.
Full of character. Our houses. Our houses. Yeah. It was not in the country, but it was on the edge of town. It was very old. And it was, again, like our houses where, like, there's a part of it that makes sense, and then there's other rooms that just got put on at some point. Yeah. So, but there's lots of little nooks and crannies of the house to explore. And it had about an acre. And on that acre, they had some garden space. And because it's California, it's super temperate, there was an orange tree, and a fig tree, and an apple tree, and an apricot tree, and a pear tree, and probably another one I can't remember. But so that year I gardened, and then we moved again, and then I didn't have a garden again. But those were like, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I'm sure I didn't get a lot from that garden. Like, I remember getting a full salad from it once and being like, oh my gosh, I can do anything.
I made this happen.
I was ready to go off grid at 14 after like 4 little pieces of lettuce. Like, yep, that's all I need.
That's
all I needed. I'm sufficient within myself. I need no God. Yeah.
Sorry. I wonder how your mom tapped into, like, that you needed that day of, like, not bringing up the thing you did wrong the day before and all the problems.
Yeah.
That you just needed time with her in silence outside.
Well, and we kind of talked about this where, this was before she knew the Lord. Mm-hmm. And so she's a super distracted, overwhelmed single mom. She has this, deep internal world raging. At the same time, she has kids with issues. And so... yeah, we would swing from, okay, I'm struggling and I'm feeling neglected, but then we would come back to she can just laser focus attention, right? And so it's something in her that she is just able to, like, when you are the object of her affection, it is the greatest thing in the world. And I remember feeling that as a kid. On those days, it's like, yeah, that's all I need. I am perfectly content.
Yeah.
She's just, yeah.
Well, and that's I think, like, your last story about living in that old house and then having an acre, because you guys have about an acre. You live in an old house.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Garden. And I'm thinking,
trying to recreate a feeling here.
Yes, you are. And so now what I'm picking on to is your mom gave you that, like, day of attention and locked in, like, and didn't bring up problems and didn't remind you of saw a hurting person. Yeah. And I feel like in your life now, you have that capability of, like, just being with people who are hurting. Mm-hmm. And Jess says over and over that you guys bought your house just because you wanted it to be a refuge for people to just come and be away from town. And just to be there and enjoy it and not have problems, all the things. Yep. So I think you, like, took parts that were wonderful and, like, were core memories for you, and you're trying to recreate it. You're getting a little too observant
here, okay? Whoa.
In your life.
I think you're absolutely right. Yep. Yeah, so because we lived in downtown Cedar Rapids in the Roots program. That was a great house. By kid number 3, and number 3 was Georgia. And she can climb on all the walls, upside down, the whole thing. I bet. On my ceiling. It's crazy. She's eating the walls. Like, we need to get this kid space. So anyway, 3rd kid, we're like, okay, we have outgrown this house. And we fell in love with that house. And so that we had that conversation where we're like, we really like that we're close to the interstate because people just pop in. Mm-hmm. Hey, I can be here for 20 minutes out of my day in between errands and just say hi. And that was great. And so it was really hard to, like, give that up. But I think it was very deliberate of, like, but when people are there, they're going to be there. Like, we're only 20 minutes outside of town. But it means, like, you don't drive to Whittier unless you're going to Anamosa in which case you go through.
Yeah.
Or you're taking 151. You're not even going through Whittier.
Yeah.
You either live somewhere else in the country that's on the way, or
you're going to Springville.
You're going to hang out with us.
Yeah.
You can be in our messy house instead of your messy house for a while. Yeah.
And I've experienced that with my house too. When people come to my house, they're there for hours. They're not just like popping in. There's like, it's very intentional. They're not leaving right now because the 15, 20-minute drive is
too much.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? Like, you get past 15 minutes and it's like, I'll just give up.
Yeah.
It's too hard.
Pauline has literally considered sleeping at my house while she has a husband and a kid because she has to drive, 30 minutes home.
Right.
She's like, I will just stay here now.
Well, it probably helps that she lived with you for a while. Oh, yeah, you lived with me for a while. That was a great year.
That was great.
That was a circus of a year. So you were in the basement. We're on the first floor. Who was in the other room on the first floor? That was.
Well, yeah, foster kids at different times because I think.
Can you bleep out his name?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't publicly identify
for like
kids.
The first half, or for part of the time I was there, was the baby that you guys.
Oh yeah.
Well, and you were there when they started the foster process because I remember you guys were like cleaning. And doing all this stuff.
Background check.
Oh yeah. Really? That was just us being super suspicious of this guy. We're like, we gotta make sure he's not a threat. The whole reason we did this just to make you do
check
out.
We needed an excuse to get a background check.
Hey, brother-in-law. Not that I don't trust you.
Yeah, but the state.
I super trust you. You're a normal guy. Yeah. That was, that was an amazing year. It was, we didn't know how stressful that year was until that year ended. Mm-hmm. And then we had a baby at the end of it. And we're like, what were we doing? So we had 3 kids plus 2 foster kids, 3 total foster kids that year, but 1 and then 2. And then my mom lived with us upstairs.
Yep.
And
did Ben and Amy live with you guys right before that? Or was it like a couple years before?
So we had Ben and Amy and Nora with us. And then they moved out, and then you moved in, and then we started doing foster care. And at that time, I thought, you know, it'd be great. I should join a startup. I think what would be really good is if I started my workday at 5 a.m. and then I just worked like 12-hour days every day. And then let's also have a family and host all these people and then do foster care. And I think definitely we won't burn out. Oh, and let's get Jessica pregnant.
Yeah, let's have another baby.
Should use different verbs there. Anyway, yeah. So definitely some loss of perspective, some good lessons learned. But also it's like, it
was so fun, though.
It was fun.
It was crazy. You guys were doing crazy things, but it was exciting.
Yeah.
Like we got all these kids out of it, with foster care.
Yeah, right.
Loving on them.
We're connected to all those families now. We still stay in touch, and every once in a while we get to hang out with their kids. And
and we got Abe.
We got Abe out of the deal.
Abe.
Oh.
So maybe it was
baby Abe.
Yeah. Crazy at the time, but so many good things came out of it.
Yep.
You guys just have to suffer for a year and then recover for.
Well, and that's we didn't realize till after we had Abe. We're like, whoa, you were pregnant this whole time. That was hard. And there's something about like pregnancy is beautiful and it's cursed, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking to a pregnant woman. You can speak about this better than I could, but it's like it's just really hard, and it's just good to acknowledge both of those things. Like God can give you grace in that moment, but also like, my body feels bad all the time, all over, every day.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Now I'm thinking about it. And she had like the extra throwing up, Jess did.
Yeah.
She was so sick.
She was nauseous all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we should have known Abe would have been a ball of fire.
Yeah, right.
How sick she was.
Yeah. So like her body had a toll. She was carrying so much stress, and we're like, ooh, we didn't stop. That was sin for us to not stop and recognize. And just the verse coming out of that year was in 1 Corinthians. It talks about give out what you have, not out what you don't have. And it might be 2 Corinthians. In fact, I think it's 2 Corinthians talking about the offering to Jerusalem. It's saying like there's a famine going on. And in Corinthians, I know you guys well, some of them are wealthy, but they're saying like, look, just give out of what you have, you know, and give with a clear conscience and give with joy. In fact, if you're not giving out of joy, God doesn't want it.
Yeah.
You know, and part of us had joy, but like we come back to that experience a lot. That was 4 years ago now, and we're like, ooh, wait, we lost our joy, and therefore we actually stopped serving Christ and doing these things.
Oh, can you imagine struggling so much and like you're not serving Christ anymore?
And it's like, man, we loved all of that. I loved having you as a roommate. That was so fun. I would like, and I loved like all the pieces of that. And yet it was more than the grace we had to do all those things simultaneously. For me to take the job that I had, for us to be diving into certain interpersonal things simultaneously to those things. And I was actually at that time dealing with a lot of childhood things had been re-triggered, some of them for the first time. Some memories that had come up, and I'm like, whoa, I should definitely not slow down my life right now to deal with these things, you know? So anyway, it's a big life lesson, and like, we are finite beings, we're not God. God delights in our ability to do good works. In fact, he's prepared them in advance for us, and we get to use our gifts to serve the church, and that's beautiful and it's wonderful. But also, if we do it without joy and without doing it to genuinely love people, the Bible says, actually love people, don't pretend to love them. Yeah. It's like, oh, wait a minute. You know, I do anything without love, I'm a noisy cymbal, I'm a clanging gong. So we now having 4 kids, it's like we come back to that on a weekly, monthly basis. We talk about those verses in terms of like, oh, our calendar's full. We don't have any Saturdays planned at home for the next 2 months. We're going to say no to things because otherwise we're going to burn out. And then we won't be able to say yes to anything else. So we're both people pleasers, so it's hard to say no.
Well, thanks for saying yes to this podcast.
Oh, I said yes. You're some of my favorite people. Yeah. Oh, I'll say one of the things I was so encouraged by with this, because I get weird and in my head with all things on the internet, right? Well, the internet gets in our head and makes us weird too. Yeah. So it works both ways. But I was just thinking like, well, you know, do I want to be on a podcast? But when you guys are selling it, this is for the church. Ooh, man, that just, oh, I love that. I love that. You guys doing this is the body operating to connect people in the body to each other. This is creating connections in family. So I just, thank you guys. What a gift.
That's amazing. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So.
It is fun.
Yeah.
You know, I'm surprised it's still going. We're not. We're not the most.
Oh, right now,
like organized.
Did I say the wrong thing? I'm sorry.
You didn't sing your song, John. We thought you had a song.
Yeah. If I had words to make a day for you, I'd give you a morning golden and true.
You know, you have a good song. You have a good voice.
That would be news to me.
And now I'm starting to see.
Is that from some like?
That's from Babe.
Babe.
Yeah.
Is that
so in the late
well-known musical?
In the late '90s, in the before times. Yeah, Babe the Pig. You know what I'm talking about? It's a movie. Look it up. One of my favorite movies.
Okay.
An amazing movie. A farmer sings it to a pig when he's sad, and then the pig becomes happy and wants to live again. Yeah, this is dark.
Wow.
That's dark. I haven't seen that in a while. Childhood is dark, so you know it's good to process that.
But the fact that you just sang that song reminded me of when Abe was on stage sticking his butt to entertain everyone, and it's like,
yeah.
This is where he gets it. This is your side of the family.
This is the gift from my mom's side of the family. Shamelessness. Yep.
That's funny.
Yep.
So something that I always want to touch on when we're doing one of these interviews, what led up to you accepting Christ?
Sin and the kindness of God. Yeah, as it says in Romans, it is God's kindness that leads us to repentance. So growing up in all families, you have fun times and hard times, and I was always interested in church. I would love coming with my dad to church at New Life, and so like I would get snippets. Like I don't have a clear gospel presentation in my head. I'm sure I heard it at some point, but it wasn't like clear to me what the gospel was, the need for repentance, what my personal sin was. Why did Christ have to die? Am I united with him in his resurrection? So snippets of things, nothing cohesive, was not spiritually alive, and yet for several years loved all the accoutrements, all the people. In fact, I was convinced that New Life was a cult. And I mean that in the most literal way possible.
Yeah.
Growing up, as we would visit, my mom would give us warnings, like, hey, they're going to try and be all nice to you, but don't be taken in. I was like, man, these people, it's just too bad they're in a cult, but they're so nice. I think they genuinely love me, but too bad they're in a cult. So I would say there was definitely a warming over time of people connecting with me, taking an active interest. Even like Ed and Corey, and there's some other guys that my dad lived with. But just that group of people. I remember being like 10 or 12, building a fence in what is now Matt and Andrea Reinert's backyard.
Yeah.
But with your dad, and having a spiritual conversation with him, and so there were so many ways in which it was meeting some personal needs, relational needs, and helped me to kind of soften over time. I still thought they were a cult for many, many years. But then when I was in middle school, I made a best friend. His name was John. He's a John. I'm a Jon. I'm a Jonathan, but I'm just lazy. In technology, we call that efficient, but it's really just lazy. So we were John and John, and we were good friends. And then I moved again, and he was the only friend. Well, I had one other, but he was the best friend that I had that I maintained a relationship with. The other friend we maintained a relationship with, and then he was like not a great guy. So I was like, okay, I'm going to cut you loose. Except I was non-confrontational, so I didn't know how to tell him that. So anyway, but John and I, we just connected, and we had very different personalities in some ways. It was the first time I felt kind of gregarious around somebody. I could like be open and silly, and he was so thoughtful. He was very reserved with his words. He was not shy exactly, but in some ways opposites. In fact, we were such nerds together. We, in high school, Pride and Prejudice came out, the Keira Knightley Pride and Prejudice, and there's Mr. Darcy and Mr. Bingley, and we're like, man, this just feels like our lives right here. Like, not the 10,000 pounds a year, but like I was Mr. Bingley, like, hi, hello, so glad to be. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm just glad to be here. At least when I was around him, I was that way. I was more myself, who I associate with now. And he was Darcy. He was like, calculating. I have 10 words I will use in the hour. I don't know when I'm going to use them yet, but they'll be gone. So anyway, that was some of our dynamic. But his family just welcomed me in. And so it went from we play video games online, which at the time online meant our computers are connected, but we are calling each other on the phone for hours at a time.
Yeah.
And just doing nothing and yet just spending time together. But his family just genuinely loved me. And I felt so welcomed by them. I felt so at home there. He had an older brother who was super redneck in the middle of Northern California, which Northern and Southern California are effectively two different states. Mm-hmm. Southern California is surfers and hobos and socialites. Northern California is, hippies and San Francisco, and well, that's all you got. And so for him to have a giant custom four-wheeler that he drove with no roof and a big old Confederate flag on the back, not afraid to make a statement, that one. And so in one sense, it was like, I don't understand anything about him. And yet he was just so generous. And he's like, Jonathan, come here. I'm going to show you how to do this. I was like, hey, thanks. His big brother was my big brother. He has a sister, and she was some of the same way. But his mom and his dad took an active interest. And so we spent so much time together that I started attending their church. Which I'll say, let's see here, probably would have been about 14. We're back and forth every other weekend, 15, even more so. And I'm basically once or twice a month attending their home church. These people were so kind, and I just felt so undeserving of their kindness, and would have at least culturally identified as a Christian at that point. Things weren't all the way clicking. But somewhere around then, about 15, I'm like, so 14, I'm a freshman in high school. I am so socially reserved. I moved to a new school to start my freshman year of high school. I know no one. Ben gets associated with rock stars and potheads, and I don't know anybody, and I'm too afraid to make my own friends, so I just hang out with him. And so we're getting high every weekend, unless I'm hanging out with John, which I'd rather do. But if I'm home, we're smoking weed. And I'm just tagging along, very insecure. By my sophomore year, I just thought, no, I don't want to do that. God doesn't want me to do that. Had an interest in reading the Bible. There was a campus Bible study, and I'm like, I want to go to that. I want to go to that. I want those people to be my people. And that was like painful to put myself in a social environment where it's me doing it on my own. And I got even more depressed because now I had to say no to all the things at school which made me feel the least bit connected. And it was really hard. I mean, I went on antidepressants that year. And that's where I knew at least enough, looking back, there was enough gospel in my head, enough about Christ having died for me, and that meant something to me. And I was willing, I was just reading through Hebrews right now with the McShane reading plan. That's a fun reading plan if you guys ever need one. And no, M. Shane, yeah, you'll look it up. I don't know. I can't remember how to pronounce it. He's a Scottish guy. And he talks about Moses preferring the suffering of Christ to the decadence of living in Egypt. Thank you. And he doesn't want to live in luxury. He's willing to give that up. Well, it's not like that's the disparity in my life. I'm going to put away pot, that I don't even like. But it was like, okay, I'm making this choice. And that was the first time I was like, oh, I'm actually sacrificing something because I love Christ more. So I think I got saved around 15. And it was some combination of influences from my dad and interactions with him, people at New Life, that family that I will just always be indebted to. They were my first spiritual family. In retrospect, however, their theology was quite different from something I would affirm today. So their pastor was, they called her grandma. She was a prophetess.
Okay.
We spoke in tongues. Just so you guys know, I'm really good at tongues.
You're really good at tongues?
I can break it down. I can MC in tongues. I can sing in tongues. Oh, man, super good.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
You should just when you do your next communion meditation
Yeah.
at church.
Fa la 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 la. Fee fa 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 la fa 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 da poo
Just
poo 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 poo.
break into it and like pay
Yeah.
someone off in the crowd to start like translating.
What he's saying is, yeah. Well, at least we'd be adhering to 1 Corinthians 14 and following the order in the church.
Yes.
That is important. One at a time, and somebody must interpret.
Yes.
I speak whatever the heck that is. The Lord gave me the gift of interpretation. Clear as a bell to me what he's saying.
I feel like I'd be the one to. I know what he's saying.
Yep.
Well, it seems like it was a fine enough church, communicated love enough for you to find it there.
Right. I think there was genuine belief, and I really experienced that, and when Paul writes to people and he says, I won't even mention that you owe me your very life. But I feel they have never expressed a compulsion in that way. But that's how I feel. It's like, I just feel like that family, they took me in. In fact, my junior year of high school, I was so depressed that I asked my mom, can I move in with them? And they lived an hour away, 2 hours by bus. I got everywhere by bus. And they lived out in the country, so I'm connecting that. And I had, by 16, effectively moved out. And we worked out a deal where I'm back every other weekend but basically I'm living at their house, and I'm going to school with all my friends from middle school, because that was the one place we stayed for a long time. And it was just absolutely a transformative experience. Wow. Like, from then on, I felt like a little bit more knit together as a person. And we would just bike everywhere and play video games, and that was my high school experience. So, yeah.
So do you know where your friend John is at these days?
I don't. So we when I decided to move to Iowa, we had finished our freshman year of college together, and we were just inseparable. And so when I moved, it felt a little like a divorce. It was like,
I felt that before.
Yeah. Like, I'm so attached to this person. This person has loved me better than anybody in my life, knows me better. And then, being 20-year-old boys, we just didn't really talk again. That's not exactly true. He visited out here once. I visited there. He went to college in California. Every few years, I'll remember to text him. I love musicals. And we had the Phantom of the Opera memorized. Either of us could play one role and the other. I don't know anything about singing, so it's not like this is good. Anyway, my daughter, Lila, I don't ever remember telling her this, but she got me a CD of the Phantom of the Opera.
Oh.
She's like, I just really thought Dad would like this. And I texted John, like, my daughter knows something about me intrinsically. I've probably seen the Phantom of the Opera movie like over 100 times. Wow. It was a problem. Just vegetables and Phantom of the Opera. Those are my addictions. Yeah.
What a complicated kid.
Yeah.
So you guys would play those parts together in your room.
Oh yeah.
And
one of us would be Christine. One of us would be the Phantom. You bet.
I bet your brothers were like, this kid is weird. Like, oh my goodness.
Well, that was the thing. I did not like being at home because it just felt like all we do is watch TV and fight. Did we do more than that? Probably. We ate good food sometimes too. But it for what I wanted it to be, it just didn't have a lot of cohesion. And so I'm there with my weird friend John, or I'm with John at his house, and they would not always like it when I'm there because we're annoying. And definitely not like it when I'm gone, because then it's like, well, why doesn't he like us?
Yeah.
And that was a point of contention in those relationships for years, especially when I started becoming a Christian. So now I'm joining this cult. Yeah. All Christians are in cults. And that was always a point of tension. So I became the odd duck out kind of from high school on, because I want to visit my dad more. to get involved in the spiritual life of New Life. I would like going to conferences. I would sing spiritual songs, and Ben is dying inside.
The devil's in him burning.
Right. We lived in a very tolerant liberal household, which meant no Christianity allowed. You know? My mom would try to take me to other churches. She's like, let's go to church together. I'm like, yes! And then she would find the most liberal Unitarian church in town. Everybody's talking about wars in Africa. Nobody's praying for anything. They're just talking about how bad the world is and how aware we should be, and NPR and
gosh.
I don't know. Is this a church?
Yeah,
I'm sure this is a. So.
And so, what brought you to the decision of like, I'm going to move to Iowa? Like, what was that like?
So up until I was 18, I had lots of conversations with my mom about her history with the church, her history with my dad, her version of events. And there was also the added tension of, from me, kind of from middle school on, wanting to spend more time with my dad. Asking her, what if I stayed longer than my brothers? There was a few summers where they would come for 1 month. I asked if I could stay an extra month. Mm-hmm. So I think there was always a desire for more of a connection. And after I became a professing believer from 16 on, like even more so, we shared Christ. I was pretty skeptical, because, you know, he's in a cult.
Yeah.
I'm in a really normal church for him.
Yeah.
He's in a cult. But I never heard most of my dad's side of the story. And that was very intentional on his side. So we talked a lot about my mom, but my dad is extremely thoughtful. So my mom is like, yeah, I'm reacting in the moment, you know? And my dad is like, I'm going to think about how can I do this best? How can I do this well? And so for him, he just felt like, yeah, until my kids are adults, I'm just not going to talk much at all about the divorce, about anything negative about their mom. And so for the place in life I was at, the first conversation we had where he's saying really anything of substance, I'm just falling apart. In fact, I forgot the context of that. We're at Faith Walkers in Missouri. It's my freshman year of college. I'm going back to being depressed again. So I'm riding a high in high school, and then kind of some of this stuff is creeping back in, undealt with stuff from childhood. I feel like I'm doing all the things I want to be doing, and I feel so empty inside. There's hills in California that I love looking at every day, and I look at them, and I don't see God in them. I do not see creation. I just see a history of death and an absence of love. And it was this hollow feeling for months. So we come to Faith Walkers, and I'm like, it's like being so thirsty, and you just cannot stop drinking, and you feel sick of water, but you just can't stop. And that's how it felt spiritually. So we're in Missouri in Tantera, and we get the call that my mom's mom, who lives in Galena, Illinois, who has cancer, and I got to see a couple months ago, previously, so it would have been for Thanksgiving maybe, so maybe a month or two ago. She hasn't been lucid, and she has stage 4 cancer, and we got the call that she's like really clear right now, like she's present, like Nana's sitting up and talking to people. And my mom knew I was in the Midwest still, and she's like, I mean, do you want to go see her? And so my dad, like the narrative in my head as a kid was, my dad loved the church so much that he was not willing to love his family well, right? And, as an adult, I don't know, I wasn't there, but I think that there's both justified and unjustified, right? It's like in any relationship, there's always 2 points of view. Certainly he was a young guy. But all my expectations were he wants to stay here in Tantera. And there is 0% chance he's going to leave this early, drive with me like 7 hours to go sit with his ex-mother-in-law for 20 minutes. And he's like, okay, let's go. So we drive back, and on the way back to Iowa, we're with a bunch of other people that have to come back early. So that also worked out. But then from Cedar Rapids to Galena and back, it's just me and him in the car, which, I have my 2 brothers, but also he got remarried, and I have 3 step siblings at that point. So like, it's not like we get a ton of alone time together. So all that's very meaningful. And he just decides, yep, right now is the right time. I've been waiting for the right time to talk. And he just shares everything from his perspective. And all of a sudden I'm like making connections, like, wait a minute, whoa, okay, maybe that wasn't the only way to view things. One of the things that really just rocked me was, growing up, I just had this perception, my dad loves his church more than us. He's so far away. And then he shared a story about, their marriage is struggling, and near the end, he was willing to leave their church, which he helped start, in order to save his marriage. And so they went to a Baptist church for a while. Shortly thereafter, they ended up separating, and then at that point, he came back. But which happened in his second marriage as well, actually. So I'm thinking about that. But he had all these things that I could identify, like, ooh, he didn't want that to be that way. He had so many feelings, so many mistakes and weaknesses. But like him talking, I could just see he just wanted to be with me. And he was just really heartbroken that he just couldn't for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
And so he's sharing all that. I'm crying the whole way. I get to talk to my grandma, say goodbye for the last time. And she's semi-lucid. She was, we think, one of the few confirmed believers in my mom's family. And, her family is wild, full of, addicts, and people ended up in jail in any given week, and like just drama. And Nana was also part of the drama. But she had a genuine faith, and so I discovered that they loved each other, my dad and my grandma. She always called him Peter. Nobody calls him Peter. Peter, you're here. Thank you for coming, Peter. And I was a mess. So then we're driving back, and I'm like, Dad, I'm super depressed. I left Little John's church that year to go to a Presbyterian church because they at least did expository preaching. I don't know what that was, but they read a passage of the Bible, and then they preached that, and they tried to explain what is the Bible saying. I thought, that's good.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Upgrade, but it also was spiritually kind of dead. It was old and, as I reflect back, very liberal. I heard a lot of good truth and some gospel there. But I was alone. My one spiritual friend, I've now left his church. I don't have anybody. And he's like, John, you should just move to Iowa. I would love it if you just moved to Iowa. And why don't you just move here and be with me? And let's just let's just get you connected to a church community, And it was heartbreaking because I was like, I never thought I would go move and be part of the cult. And I was very afraid of my mom. Extremely afraid of my mom. She was, I was very shut down as a person, really sensitive kid. So I'm always trying to inappropriately manage her emotions. And we would go from very high to, very reactive lows. And so those were hard conversations to have with her. But what I thought about a lot, we did Awana, and I talked about this verse in Revelation in the church in Laodicea, chapter 3-ish. And because you're neither hot nor cold, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. And that's what I thought about. If I stay here and Christ is my treasure, I'm not hot and I'm not cold. I'm going to a church. I don't know anybody. I'm helping with the youth group. They're not growing. I am spiritually dry and halfway dead inside, but I need help. I can't help other people until I receive more of the word. I understand what Christian love looks like. So, took the plunge. And then for a year, my dad encouraged me to go to Des Moines to get plugged in with their college ministry. At the time, we're part of Great Commission churches, and that was a big deal, being part of college ministry, highly evangelistic. Really, really, just that was a precious year to me. But it was also, and at the end of that, he's like, I think you should move back again. And I'm like, you're jerking me around, man. And so it was hard because I got very attached there, but, would not trade that for anything for being here. So it's about 15 years ago I moved here and stuck here. Pretty glued in.
Joined the cult.
Yeah. It's
great. Tried to run away.
You married into the cult.
I married into the cult. That's how they get you. The women.
They'll have a pretty girl.
Are you a guy that needs a cult to join? Join our cult. Join our cult.
And we have this girl.
I'm just going to, this is foolish speak, and I will say more foolish things, so I'm going to stop there. Yeah. That's also a story of my life, is the guy who takes it too far. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I been absolutely just wonderful being here, and being part of the life of the church for the last 15 years, and married and kids, and just part of the body here. So, yes.
Well, I usually like to get into the gushy, mushy love stuff. So I know Jess didn't want you to talk about her.
She specifically did not. So we're definitely talking about her.
In trouble.
Yeah.
But how did that
What
all
time is it?
I have no idea. I don't have my phone.
Let me look at this camera.
Maybe late. While he's doing that,
Yeah.
How did that all transpire?
Well, so I knew her since forever. We literally knew each other since birth. I'm a year older than her, and I was there as soon as her parents were showing her to people.
Yeah.
Like, we visited the hospital.
Yeah.
And so I knew her forever. My dad and her dad were best friends. And so we'd come in the summers, and I'm hanging out with, Joe's family, and you guys were little squirts running around. That was a lot of fun. So she was just a good friend. Which meant a lot to me. I didn't have friends. I don't know how to make friends, but Jessica was always my friend. A few other people were that way. Matt Reiner was that way. He was just always my friend. And I just really valued that. I got older, there's others, Carrie and some others. So then I moved here. I joined the cult. I'm getting involved in our college ministry here. And I'm attending Mount Mercy. Things are going really well, and lo and behold, I'm feeling down in the dumps, getting depressed again. Those negative emotions, they just don't go away on their own. And just struggling internally with a lot of things, and so much anxiety about dating and marriage. I had built up this whole thing in my head of I need to do the opposite of what my parents did. Don't we all think?
Yeah.
That'll fix it. 2 wrongs will definitely make a right. And so, I just thought, like, I'm not getting married until I know we are absolutely in love. We are passionately in love with each other. And I know that this is the person God wants me to marry. That was a big deal in Great Commission. It was very mystical. There was many teachings on dating about asking God for guidance. God, please take away these feelings. If you don't take away these feelings, I'll take it as a sign I should definitely move forward. I was like, what did we expect to happen? Like, people sanctifying their own desires. Like, okay. Yeah, super mystical. Anyway, so all that's floating in my head, deeply insecure. I had not quite a girlfriend, but like deep emotional connections that I really messed up. Like, I had hurt some girls by not being communicative, not expressing interest or disinterest, so leaving them on the line, and and so like all this stuff is in my head. Like, I'm just bad at this. I don't know how to do any of this. I'm really afraid. And then Kurt gave a teaching on 1 Thessalonians 4, maybe. Let each one possess his own vessel and learn how to acquire a wife in holiness. And he made what I felt like was a compelling argument of, learn how to acquire a wife. It means that, that's a skill. You can learn it. The important part is in all holiness and purity. And it's actually a command. And I was convinced I didn't have the gift of singleness. This sounds like so arbitrary. It's like, well, I got to pick me one. And, well, I know about that one with the curly hair over there, so I'll just grab me a sack and claim dibs. So I'm like struggling through that. And I got to a point where I'm like, I think I can just decide that I want to be in a relationship with someone, and that's just okay. I didn't have it all figured out, but I was like, maybe everything else is just hot garbage and I could just try it, right? And I feel intense negative emotions about even doing that. I'm so afraid, and yet, I want to be open to a relationship. So anyway, and then there was a day where Jessica, who has curly hair, straightened her hair. And I just noticed that, and then I noticed her. And I was
straight
like,
now.
Interesting. And that was when they announced that, maybe it was that day or not, but she was going to Mexico, along with Megan Ledoux, now Stutzman. And I'm like, so, like, my head is just like so full of, okay, I think I like Jessica. I like Jessica. What does that mean? Do I like her? Do I love her? Am I in love with her? I need to be in love with her. No, but that was like, so I just, my head's a mess, but I'm like trying to move forward because I want to be with this girl. And so I asked my sister Jenna, I tell her, but I'm super secretive. I tell Matt, who's my best friend at the time, and Jenna, who's Jessica's best friend, and they're married now, so they were co-conspirators. That's fun. And I tell Jenna, can you help me get Jessica alone? Can you help me corner this woman?
Just like I helped Jared out.
Yeah, you did.
Hey, good job.
Honestly, this whole story is sounding like how me and Josh started dating.
Do you want to join a cult? We will help you get married in the cult. Call 1-800. No, okay. Yeah, we all need help. Or what did I say before we started recording? You're like Gandalf. I guess we're all a little like Gandalf.
Yeah.
We're disturbers of the peace. We've been labeled disturbers of the peace. So anyway, so it was super romantic, Jera. Oh my goodness. So I took my beat up minivan and I showed up to Scooter's Coffee in Hiawatha, where Jenna had gotten Jessica, just the two of them, she made it some excuse for them to go out for coffee after church. And I just appeared. And Jenna's like, hi, John. And Jessica's like, John, hi. And I was like, will you fly away with me? Come with me to a foreign land. I said, hi, Jessica. Do you want to go take a drive with me and we can talk? And she's like, okay. I had no swag. I had no skills. This should not have worked. We'll find out later why it worked. And then I drive to an industrial parking lot where I made sure nobody can see us.
No security cameras.
No, I want to be completely. I know it sounds so creepy, but I just had so many fears of like the emotional pressure of other people, because that was a big theme in my parents' marriage. They just felt all this pressure, you know. And so I had in my head like, you're gonna create a zero pressure environment.
Get her alone.
Exactly.
Nobody there.
No, it's a complete secret. She's all the way alone. It's just the two of us in the car. And I gave her some speech, and like, well, I really like you, and if you would consider praying about dating with the intention of marriage, I would like to do that with you, and if you would like to, then thank you. What are your thoughts? You know?
Here's my presentation.
And she's just letting me talk, and she's crying, and I'm like, this is bad. This is going real bad. And I'm picking up on, we're alone in a minivan. Nobody can see us.
And she's crying.
We're a mile away from her last known location. I stopped talking. I'm awkwardly waiting for her. And the first thing she says was, I have liked you for 10 years. No. And I'm just like, that doesn't make sense. No, I like you. You don't like me. People don't like me. That doesn't make sense. And it just blew my mind. She had no idea, so she loves surprises. So I'm glad that was our first surprise. Well, probably the first surprise was drive away with me. The second surprise was, I do like you. And from there we moved very fast. We got very connected. And I asked her just before she went to Mexico so that for sure nobody would know. And we just talked on the phone back and forth for a month. That was all for me. She did not have that need. She was fine with everybody knowing. She was staying with the Handels, a pastor family down there. And Sergio, I got to tag along to the pastors conference that year. And so I'm like, ooh, this is fun. All the big people are talking. I'm getting to listen into pastory conversations. This is real serious. And then Sergio is there, and he speaks great English, but he has a beautiful, thick accent. And he's like, so I hear you and Jessica are involved. And I like, all the leading men of the church around me, I'm like, yes, walk out this door with me. They can never know. And so I had this hallway conversation with Sergio about like, how's she doing? Is she alive? And there's this whole story of they had this church camp that there were concerns about possible kidnappings of Americans. And so, and there was somebody from the embassy, U.S. Embassy down there attended. So they had like the FBI or Secret Service or whatever, and helicopters. And she's like, it was so secure. I'm like, it doesn't sound. Sounds like people want to kidnap you. Anyway, yeah. What else to say about that? Yeah, so we were engaged like 3 months. Or no, we were dating like 3 months. How did that work? We started dating at the beginning of the summer. We dated through the summer. We kept dating through my senior year of college. And then in that fall, we're like, so we probably dated like 3 or 4 months. I can't even remember. And we're like, well, this is getting hot and heavy. We got to pick a direction here.
Yeah, I asked Jessica about that, and she told me, well, you got to marry me if you're going to keep giving me hugs that are so long.
Yeah.
And I was at
I thought it was a loophole. Not kissing.
Hugs. Yeah. I was at their house for lunch, and Josh and I were still dating. and I like mention that conversation, and you go, yeah, if you want Hugs Plus, you have to get married.
You just get
and
married.
I just
there's a biblical remedy for that.
So funny that you said Hugs Plus.
Sign up for Hugs Plus. It requires just a marriage certificate and 2 official witnesses.
Lifelong commitment.
That's right. Call 1-800
for the call. It's the same
cancellation policy.
No cancellation policy. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. And you know that
the rest is history.
The rest is history. We had a 6-week engagement. We're like, well, we could wait several months till I'm done with school, or I had J term at Mount Mercy, but I was a super senior, so I was ahead on credit, so I didn't have class for a month. And we're like, what if we just got married then and had a big long honeymoon? We're like, yeah, let's get married ASAP. Yeah, and here we are.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Where are we at time?
Well, it's probably a good place to wrap up.
Great.
You have to stop me, Joe. We could have a 5-hour podcast.
We could.
Never gonna give you. Okay.
I've listened to like 5-hour podcasts before.
Yeah.
But
We'd have
it
to be
takes
talking
you
about the
multiple
Roman
days.
Empire or
Yeah,
something.
we're probably talking about the
Well, I was
Roman
going to bring up your children, but that'll be the next time we have you on.
Yeah. You just interview them.
Oh,
That would be
Lila
an
so
experience.
badly wants
She
us
does.
to have her on.
She is, unfortunately, she got the performer genes. So. Yep.
We'll see.
But it'd be
we'll
fun
just
to
have
have.
Lila and Abe.
Well,
Dual
Rosie.
interview.
They can interview each other.
Yes.
Oh, Rosie can tell you all about her dreams.
I was
She
gonna
has
say
stories on
her
stories.
dreams go on
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, Georgia will just tell you how it is. This is the way life is, guys. It's bad, but God is good. Praise Him forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening, and John, thank you so much for everything you shared and just
Thanks. This was fun.
being a fun guy.
Thanks for letting me just hang out.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Awesome. All right. Have a good whatever, everybody.
Whatever.
All right. Have a good whatever. Happy whatever to you too.